Have you ever found yourself so fatigued to the point that you feel like your soul is tired? What about feeling so far off track from what you thought your life should be or could be that one day you woke up and you don't even recognize yourself anymore? Sometimes there is this experience of everything going wrong. And I don't mean the kind of day where you get up on the wrong side of the bed and you catch your top on the door handle or you just can't clear the corner and then you catch every red light only to spill your coffee on its first sip. I mean, the kind of experience where nothing comes together and everything keeps falling through all of the time, where things are just off and feel like they're off balance. It's the kind of experience where even you will stop and recognize that something's weird. This would be an experience over a period of weeks or months, not just an off day. How often do you get the sense that you are chasing your tail, that you are on the proverbial treadmill, the rat race, moving from thing to thing, and you feel like you need to get off said treadmill, but you just don't know how? Life is busy, that's understandable. But this is that feeling of it running away from you, of you trying to catch up and not being able to. And it just becomes this endless looping cycle. Do you ever feel like something is missing from your life? Maybe you can't quite put your finger on it, maybe you can, but you have this overwhelming feeling of something being missing. Today, we're talking about caring for your soul. And the examples that I've just provided are those of soul wounding, of a soul that needs some TLC. And these examples are just some of the ways that a wounded soul will show up in your physical everyday life. Our soul lives within our human selves, but it also resides on the other side, on the spiritual plane. So you can envision a connection between the spiritual and the physical planes, a little bit like a bungee cord, just a spiritual bungee cord. Or the way that I saw it was a little bit like tacky. Okay, it's a sticky connection between planes. But to keep it simple, let's use that of a bungee cord. It is a constant connection between planes, whether you know it or not. It is absolutely a two-way communication. Our soul works to keep us aligned to our purpose along with our team in spirit, and our physical self reports back to the soul. Not consciously, although you can once you know. So you can understand with this visual of the bungee cord that any impact to the physical self will absolutely feed back to our soul. And because we are having a human experience, soul wounding and soul fracturing occur due to our human experience and the experiences that we partake in. In my own reflection, prior to tuning into Spirit for their wise words on soul care, I recalled a period of time where I was so burnt out, so fatigued with work, that the only way I could explain how I felt was to say that I was so tired that my soul was tired. I didn't know how to vocalize it in any other way. I didn't know how to explain it. It was just this sense that I had. Yes, I was tired, but I was also getting a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. It wasn't something a cup of coffee could fix. I would have a coffee and perk up, but I still had this fatigue in my energy field. And part of this fatigue was my frustration with not being able to progress in certain things that I was working on. I felt stuck and it was dragging on and it was dragging me down. This is part of what has prompted me to tune into Spirit's wisdom on this topic. Not just my personal experience, but a consistent pattern that I'm seeing within clients too. When I sat down this morning to tune into my trusty team in Spirit on their wisdom on soul care, what came through was so much compassion and consideration for a topic that truly deserves so much more time and attention than we give it. What is important to note here is that soul care is health care. And poor health and a weak soul link show up when you are running on empty because your adrenaline is so overloaded from constant stress. If you're not eating well, you start suffering from chronic health conditions. When you're exposed to toxins and you subsequently struggle from health issues that are created from that. It's also when you are constantly exposed to emotional stress that builds up and builds up over time. If you have ever been the victim of capital T trauma, that is a surefire way to weaken your soul's health because of the effects of that very serious trauma to your physical body. And I don't just mean your physical body, but emotional trauma is absolutely a strong factor here. Little t trauma, which is smaller events over a long period of time that lead to chronic stress. That type of extended exposure absolutely sits in your internal wiring, in your brain state, and shows up as a dysregulated nervous system. From there, physical ailments start to manifest. Your sleep becomes dysregulated, you start bloating when you don't normally, and you find yourself getting sick more often than you used to. Spirit's channeled message on soul care came through like so. Soul care is caring for the physical self, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That means looking after the health of your body through lifestyle, your diet, your exercise. Looking after your emotional self through actively processing your emotions, processing any trauma, and not allowing small t trauma to build up. Regarding your spiritual state, the message was clear that it isn't what you believe, but rather that you simply have the belief in a higher power, something beyond your physical self. Regarding your spiritual state, the message was clear that it isn't what you believe, but rather that you simply have the belief in a higher power, something beyond your physical self. This could simply be that you have faith that there is more, even if you don't know what it is. At this point, I queried why this was so important, and the response was that faith expands our energy and connects us to the divine. So, having faith in something allows for an opening for connection, and this helps the soul. Spirit also went on to say that having achievements was important for the soul's well-being, that we acknowledge and we have achievements. It is important for the soul to have growth and progress, no matter how big or small. And it was reiterated that it's not the size of the goal, but the progress of achievement towards the goal itself. It's important to note that our emotional and physical states are quite linked. The aura, which is your energetic body, has layers, and one of those layers is the mental layer, your thought field, literally where your thoughts sit and can broadcast from. There is also the emotional layer, which is where we can carry our emotions. This would be experienced when someone wears their heart on their sleeve or feels sad. It's emotions that aren't necessarily being processed and are sitting in this field. The physical body also has its own auric layer that sits just above the body itself. All of these layers are independent and yet interlinked. It's impossible to really separate thoughts from emotions, they go together. And so, over time, if you aren't looking after your physical body, you will start to experience physical symptoms of dis-ease. Likewise, if you are a healthy person, you do watch your diet, you do exercise, but you are under a chronic amount of stress, then this will show up as a dysregulated nervous system. Depending on your constitution, you may be prone to aggressive outbursts or emotional eating. And over time, this is likely to manifest as an autoimmune disorder of some kind, perhaps adrenal fatigue, some injuries, or any of the above. The biggest takeaway that I received from the dialogue with Spirit was an image of our physical self and our soul and a higher self being linked together like tacky or with this bungee cord. We are here on the physical plane. The soul exists within us, as does our higher self, but then largely reside on the other side. When we stray too far from our purpose, when we get bogged down with the density of this life, or when we lose our way, we don't achieve, we experience too much trauma or heartache, then the tacky begins to stretch. And as tacky should, there is a degree of give and stretch within the normal realms that won't fatigue or fracture the soul. However, when it gets pulled too far apart is when problems start to occur. I've already provided numerous examples of how physical ailments will occur when this goes on. That is mystery gut disorders, autoimmune conditions, injuries. The list isn't limited to any of those. But what's surprising is when people talk about being off the path or misaligned, or they feel off balance. That is their soul connection being on such a stretch that it is hard for them to manifest anything. That they walk a path that is heavy and burdensome. Can you imagine moving through life connected with tacky or with this bungee cord or rope, and you are on the absolute furthest end of that stretch, continuing to try to move forward? It's incredibly tiresome. It's hard work. Nothing comes easily from that. So naturally, things will feel out of reach. They will be more challenging than necessary. And can you see how those stories are often underlying beliefs that sit within our subconscious? Why is everything so hard for me? Nothing comes easily to me. I have to work hard to make money. Okay? And the solution here is quite simple, and it's to stop forcing so hard, to slow down. To realign means to get back to your purpose and back to health. Now, I fully understand and am hopefully making clear that this is not going to be an overnight change. I've shared my story of how long it took to sell my business. That was a very multi-layered experience. But part of what took so long was that somewhere along the way, I had veered off track. I wasn't in alignment with my soul path anymore, and it was causing big issues to my physical self and my soul's health. But if we go back to the message about achievement, the process of getting your health back, the process of getting to a place where things are easier and more aligned, that is achievement, one small step at a time. Each step forward should be celebrated. Now, you may be wondering what the difference could be between ego-driven accomplishments and the kind of achievement Spirit is referring to. And the answer is so good. Ego-driven accomplishments are generated purely within the physical body and mind. They aren't inspired goals from your higher self or spirit team. So, do they still count in this sense? Ultimately, yes, but they don't carry the same weight as the divinely inspired idea that is set about and worked towards. You can consider it like a point system. The divinely inspired idea, the soul path, the soul pool, that's going to yield you a 10 out of 10 soul care points. Whereas the ego driven accomplishments, they're going to yield you less, maybe 1 to 3 points on the scale out of 10. And the reason being that you get some points rather than none is that you are still growing, you are still expanding, you are learning from your experiences. So nothing's really a waste. So the important question for the day, what actually counts as soul care? What degree of self-care helps the soul? Do bubble baths and face masks count? Or is the only way to care for the soul to meditate for hours on end and visit silent retreats? And the truth is that anytime you are helping yourself feel better, you are helping heal your soul. If we stick with the point system, some acts are going to yield better results, so you'll get more points, and others less so. A good example would be having a good massage. You can go to the shopping mall and get a massage from someone who isn't qualified, who's been trained in store, and is showing up, counting the hours on the clock, getting paid minimum wage to give you a massage. And are you going to relax and feel better? You probably will. Now, if you went to somebody whose life purpose it is to provide the most amazing massage treatments, the kind that literally touch your soul, you are going to walk away from that massage feeling considerably different than you would from the one in the shopping center. 1,000,000% better. Okay. This is where tuning into your intuition to guide you will be critical because you have a direct link to your higher self and soul, and you will receive the answer for what is right for you. Okay, we all have a personalized blueprint. Sorry, we all have a personalized blueprint. It's really important to note that there is not a one size fits all approach. What I need will be different to what you need, to what someone else will benefit from. Holding the intention to heal is important as that can be a shining light. But actually taking the necessary steps is critical. So be mindful not to get caught up in the latest biohacking trend, for example. Those aren't always as well intentioned as they're made out to be. So just a little hot tip from Spirit on that one. Now, the overarching soul healing steps that can apply to everyone are slow down. All right, just slow down. I don't mean come to a complete halt, but just slow down. This can be, or this can look like, any form of slowing down except doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. The purpose of slowing down is to quieten the mind. Gentle meditation helps. You don't have to do it for hours on end. Aim for 10 minutes a day. And with this, as you slow down, your intuition becomes strengthened. And the messages about the right steps for you are going to start to be clearer for you. The next one is to practice mindfulness. This is part of slowing down, but it is also becoming present in the body, present in the moment. It is developing an awareness of self. of your senses of how you actually feel. And this is an important barometer for healing. That means taking a breath, breathe in slowly. Okay. When you sip your tea, I've got my cup of tea here now. Savor it. So sit, don't just gulp it down. All right. Be in nature. That is being outdoors in the fresh air with birds, with trees, by the ocean if you are close to it, and being present and mindful outside. Just sit for a moment and enjoy the space around you. So put down your device. Don't sit there scrolling through Facebook while you're sitting going, oh yeah, I'm being it. No. Slow down, practice mindfulness, be present, do those things out in nature as well. There are also soul healing techniques. My favorite one is actually from Anthony William, that's the medical medium, and it is you envisioning your soul as a glowing ball, a life giving, live, glowing white ball. See it as smooth and round all around. Okay, so we don't want jagged edges, we don't want fractures to it, we don't want kind of funny shapes. If you tune into this visual and you've got like a star shape, then you want to slowly smooth it out so that it's nice and round. All right. Over time, with your intention, with strategies, bringing in a health component as well, and the visualization of this beautiful, pulsing, life giving, round soul will help to heal it, and it will help to strengthen your connection with spirit and with your soul as well. Now, lastly, now that you've identified that soul wounding can be an issue, that is likely present in your life, you've started to practice healing the soul and reconnecting with your purpose. What signs could you look for that will help you identify that you are indeed on the mend? What I'm hearing very clearly is that this is a journey and that your healing experience may not necessarily be linear. So I'm going to throw another metaphor out to you, but if you look at slices of a pie or slices of a pizza, you might find that if each slice represents a different part of your life, then some aspects or some of those slices are going to start healing before others. And so you may continue with a sense of slight imbalance, but you're going to be experiencing more peace in your life. And you'll have an overwhelming sense that you are stabilizing and that these aspects of your life, these slices that have progressed in healing, understand that it benefits the whole. So if you start doing well within your career, you're not operating from burnout, but your home life still isn't quite where you want it to be, then know that the peace in one side will send and will be present and carry over to the peace in the other side. This is going to look like more calm in your body, like more emotional harmony. You have a strong sense of purpose, okay, a clear path to move forward with. Your guidance becomes clearer, and some of your physical symptoms are going to start to improve. So your health will be getting better. You're not going to be as beaten down as you were. And as I wrap up today's, hopefully for me, it was incredibly insightful episode, I want to remind you that you are indeed spiritual beings having a human experience. To be well, to flourish, to experience joy and happiness and abundance is absolutely your right. It is this process of the human journey to learn to experience life, the good, the bad, but to ultimately arrive at a destination that is awesome for you. So look after your body, look after your health, your mental and spiritual well-being. Slow down, Focus on developing your intuition and focus on the growth and transformation that is absolutely always available to you. Let this episode be a shining light to you to guide you to know that there is more than just you, that you have always got more support than perhaps you can physically see, that no matter how fatigued your soul is, it is always there for you. Your team in spirit, they are always there for you. And the path of your transformation, of you achieving the goal that you are setting out to, whether that is expansion in your life, whether that is a monetary amount at work, whether that is just peace in your life, a family, a beautiful relationship, whatever it is that you are working towards, know that the more that you look after the critical aspects of yourself, the physical body, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual parts of you, that you are going to benefit across all aspects of that. And the more aligned you are with your path, so the more you focus on your healing, on your growth, on overcoming subconscious blocks, on overcoming emotional stresses, learning emotional mastery, that ultimately brings you closer to where you are going and what it is that you are calling into your life. That is manifesting. That is transformation. That is personal growth. I look forward to seeing you next time.